Okay, today we're going to be talking about sliding pocket doors. Okay, so we just did this one and works fine. Just got done trimming it out. Just got to be painted up. This one is a different story. What happened with this one, now this is mid-70s pocket door hardware, okay? And if you look up here, you can see the track is kind of chewed up a little bit, and I'll show you what I mean by that. If we run the hardware through here, you'll see it kind of gets caught. All right, so it's pretty chewed up. But what's happening is two things. One is this is not the original hardware. This is cheap Chinese hardware that doesn't tighten down. So you can go ahead and adjust this, and as you're pulling it back and forth, if you hit anything in that track, it slides, it readjusts. That's what happened with us twice. We replaced this hardware the first time. We just got done totally trimming this out. It happened again, popped off the track. So now we're going to change this so that it doesn't happen again. How are we doing that? We're using this Johnson pocket door hardware. This you can see right off the bat. It's a big beefy track. It's on both sides. It's got 3 wheels, so there's 2 wheels on one side, 1 wheel on the other side. This old track is just a C. It screws in here, and there's a C on this side. That's all that holds it. Now the problem with that kind of hardware and this kind of Chinese junk is that if you were going to hang anything heavier than this hollow core Luan door, this is not going to work, and that track will not support it. So you're going to need to have some heavier track like this, and today we're going to show you how to put that in. First thing I want to show you is what it looks like inside here. So you can see we got 1, 2, 3 screws we need to get out, and there's no way we're fitting anything like an arm through that slot. All right, now we have a support here and a support here. So keep those two in mind. And what we're gonna do is, if you look, you can see that the joint in there, where you can see just the edge of the sheetrock a little bit. Okay, that is that wall. So you can see there's not much space. What we have is, this is the area we're gonna end up cutting out. Okay, that goes from the middle of here to the middle of that. So we're gonna be able to cut this out and just go ahead and simply replace it. What I was hoping to actually do is to be able to do it in here, and the problem is that's my mark in here, and I'm that close to the trim. So I would only be able to cut a little slot. Maybe I could get my arm in there and screw that 1 screw, and if I have to, I will, but I think I'm going to be able to reach enough from this access hole right here to do that. Let's find out. Okay, now we have it cut out. It doesn't mean that there's not screws in here. So let's see if we can get this out of here. It's gonna need more persuading than that.
All just like it's very sweet.
We can hear some sheetrock coming off. All right, so we have 2 screws up here, and it was just a little bit of sheetrock holding it back here, but we're out. Okay, it's gonna be the moment of truth here, because we're gonna see if I can get my arm back into here to get those screws out. Yeah, it's gonna be tight. 2 screws. This first one should be rather easy. Yeah, the next one not so much. I don't know, can you see where I'm trying to go? 'Cause I can't. Okay, that's the end. I think I can see the screw. That's not it though. Boy, another inch would do me good. I can see it and I can just about get on it. But I can't see it to get on it. Well, you know what they say, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. All right, let's get the rest of these out. Got one in there. All right, so here's the track, and here's where our problem was. all in here. Now, what that is from someone at some point, maybe the door jumped the track or something, and rather than take the whole door apart, they just bent this down, got the wheel back up in there, moved the door over and bent it back up. And over time, it just destroys the track. Now, what am I talking about when I say take the door apart? In order to remove one of these correctly, you need to take this piece of trim off, this piece of trim, this piece of trim, all the trim that I've already removed up top has to come off. Then once you take this off, sometimes you even need to come over here and take this off, because you have to get the door all the way over so that it will swing. So you can push it like this, it swings back and forth. Then you can pull it back and lift it off the track, put it back on the track the same way. So it's not an easy or quick fix with these doors. The new hardware that we're going to put on here is a little bit easier. Let's get started with that. All right, so we had to cut this 59.5 inches because these come 6 foot, so you can put these, use these with a 3-foot door. Our door is 30 inches, so we don't need the whole 3 foot. And it's not going to fit, so we got that out of here. Now this is the piece I was telling you about. This is actually the rollers, and just to see if I threw that other one away yet. That Chinese garbage. Okay, so here's the Chinese junk, right? Here's the Johnson hardware. You can see this is it's a lot beefier. Just look at the size of the wheels. This one will hold a lot more weight. So like I was saying, if you're going with a solid wood door, you definitely want to put these on. And you want to make sure that as we're sliding this in here, before we push it up at the end, that we put those rollers in here, because you can't get them in here once this is installed. Okay, so this could be a little tight. The track up top is tight, but just this down here is a little tight. So you got that all the way in. Get these on, and these are just going to fit right in here. And that's it, that's up there now. Just gotta screw it in. And get those screws back there somehow. Now this channel is a lot stronger than the other channel. So I'd have to think that even if we didn't use all the screws, it's still going to be stronger. like I said, if we don't get it in this last one, I don't think it's gonna be earth shattering because I can't even pull that thing down. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. Well, we got second to the last one. That ain't moving. I don't even think we have to worry about that one. I think we're in pretty good shape. So these are our new rollers. They're installed. This is the catch that we're going to mount to the door. And the way it works is we'll slide this up. It will lock in. You can see the little plastic around here, so it's going to lock in right around there. We slide this over, and that's it. She's permanent. So let's go ahead and mount these on the door. We made a center line in the door. Want to have these mounted center. We came down 3 inches, and we're going to set these in here. And I'm just going to make a mark so I can pre-drill this. Just makes setting the screw a little bit easier. Especially since this isn't really wood, it's like a press board, which is why they give you these big, beefy screws. So when you're going in here, it has a better chance of holding. Now, when you're putting these on, you want to make sure that you're putting them on the right way. So we want to be able to move the latch over from the inside because we've already removed the trim. So we're going to put this on this way. This is the back of the door that goes inside. Okay, that's one. We'll flip this over and do the other one. Measure down our 3 inches where we already have a line. Now this one, we want to make sure that we can swing the latch from this side as well. So it's going to want to go this way. Keep all of our latches on the same side. Now, it's not super critical that these are in the center because there's only that one pivot point right here. Whereas with our friendly ones from China here, these are much more critical that they're straight, because if they're supposed to be like this on the door and you have them like that, then they're always going to be binding. So these are a little tougher to put on as well, besides the fact that they don't work as well. So now we're ready to get this door up there. Let's see if it works. See if I can bring it a little closer here. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this. Got you as close as I could. Because we need to get this door over more. Yep, need to go a little bit more. The problem is we have the guides. We left the guides on the bottom of the door and they were holding us back. So, let's see if we can lift this up on our own. Okay, that's over. That's locked on. That's locked on. Looks like we need a little adjustment. A little bit of an adjustment. But the way these are adjusted, there's a little nut up here and they give you the tool. So you just come up here and you're going to turn it whichever way you think you want to go. So I want this to go that way, so I want to raise this up. Let's see if I'm going to raise it or if I'm going to lower it. Come lower. Now the other thing, which is probably even more critical, is you want this to line up the best you can. Let me see if I can show you this down here. Okay, so you have the door here, and you see it's way in here and it's way out there. That's actually more important than this side because we have this little stop that's going to give us, you know, that 3/8 of an inch cover. So we can still be off 3/8 of an inch. This is telling us that we want this to come up and this probably to go down. So now the unfortunate thing about this whole setup here is that this house was built, like I said, in the mid-70s. So that's when all this work was done. And now we're coming in 50 years later and trying to make this work with what somebody else had already done. But we'll get it close. Getting closer. One thing I did want to show you. This is the stop that'll be going on back on this inside. So when we close this, you can see we're still going to be off over here. And the problem we're going to run into now is as we pull this door wants to go in that direction. So it actually wants to make the spread even bigger. And this door frame was pretty plumb. Yeah, worst comes to worst, we can take this piece of trim off and we'll pop this out a little bit more. We should be able to do that if we have to. But everything is pretty close. Boy, the door's never swung that good. All right, let's put that back. Here's the piece that we cut out. And now that our access is no longer needed, we're going to go ahead and put it right back in there. Now we'll clean up these edges just a little bit too. Now, depending on how confident you are using a screw gun, they do make these nice little bits that are designed to just push the screw just below the paper. Let me show you. Works pretty flawless every time. Except for if it doesn't catch. What it's going to prevent you from doing is pushing this through and breaking the paper. You also want to stay in from the corners, because if you get too close to the corner, you can crack that corner out. Don't want that to happen. Yeah, I keep forgetting this one up here is a little bit smaller. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is just take our knife and just run it down here, because we want to take anything that kind of popped out a little bit. Get rid of that, because that's going to create a little bump in our spackle when we go ahead and we put the joint compound on here. So we're almost kind of cutting a wedge into it. Almost feels like a patch, this whole top up here. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to use this fiber tape. Now, you can use paper tape on this. The reason we're using the fiber tape is because we want to get this thing done. So we find the end of it and we'll get some up there. Okay, this stuff has a little bit of adhesive on it, so we're just going to stick it up here. We need a little piece there. Now, the reason we're using the fiber tape, like I said, we want to get this thing done. But fiber tape will also give you a lot more strength. So if you had a situation where maybe something still had some movement to it, if we were pushing on this and it was moving, by using that fiber tape, you'd be surprised at how many times you can get rid of that movement. I've used this for repair and plaster, and worked incredible. Okay, now let's mud her up. Now we're going to push some in. Now a little V we made there. Now, because we're not using the paper tape, we can come over this pretty thick. Little joke in here. Now you might be looking at this going, boy, this guy just made a mess. You'd be right. We'll fix it. Let's let this dry. As we're putting back this trim, it actually goes back in layers. This being the first layer. That's going up there. Then our next layer, which is actually our first piece of trim that you're going to be able to see. So that's going to tuck into here. We're going to make sure that that is flush. think it might stick out a little bit. Next, we're going to put some smaller nails in here. Put our head trim back up. And our legs. And whenever we hang a piece of trim, we always want to check the door to make sure that we didn't make something that was going to hit against. So that's fine, man. Pretty good space there, but that's good. Let's see how this one works. Our first layer is now dry. We're going to use this vacuum sander just to knock down any high spots, level this off a little bit. This was our heavy coat. Our next coats are going to be much lighter. We're going to get a little loud. Alright, time for our next coat. We're going to graduate to a little bit wider blade. One thing I have noticed is up here, this wall had a little bow in it. Keep that in consideration as we go ahead and we mud this up again. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not. Okay, this is a much thinner coat. It's gonna dry pretty quick. We'll let that dry and go again. All right, we're getting close, so just hit it again with the sander. So we still have that a little hollow that was up here. It's a little better. Probably one last little skim coat just to fill in any imperfections, and this thing should be ready to paint.
Okay. Let's start with
I think we do.
He's waiting. He's waiting.
I'd say this looks pretty good. This should be ready for about ready for paint. Just gotta feather the edges and put some paint on this. The paint we have is supposed to be the same color. It's mixed from a different batch. It may or may not blend perfectly. We'll find out. If it does, then no problem. If it doesn't, then we're going to be painting this wall again. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint everything that we've spacked once. Let that soak in, and then we can paint it again, and that'll be the final. Hopefully we don't have to paint this whole thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut in this corner just like if I was to be cutting in a different color. Okay, the reason for that is if this does not match perfectly, I don't want to have brush marks over on this other corner, because then I'll have to paint this wall as well. Okay, we'll let that sit overnight and see how it looks tomorrow. All right, so our work is done. We took out a track like this from the mid-70s that was very flimsy and installed the super heavy-duty pocket door track here without totally removing the wall. We just had to make that one hole in here, and as you can see, you can't even tell there was ever a hole there. All right, until next time, thanks for tuning in. See you later.